Hello and welcome back to the Gfinity Starcraft Spring Masters 2 from London, England. You can see there the wonderful view of Big Ben. I've got someone with me in the studio who also likes to call himself Big Ben. It is the Muslim. And we're also joined by Harstam as well. They're going to be doing the analysis for the final. There it is, the trophy. That's what everyone has been competing for. We whittled down 16 of the best players in the world down to just 2. Hydra and Solar. So guys, we must be hyped now.
Pretty darn hyped actually. Like these guys, they've actually played once already this tournament, but that was in the group stage in which Hydra just etched out Solar. So the fact that but 2 people from the same group that played right at the start of the tournament are going to meet again right at the end, and this is going to decide who is the winner. I really like situations like that.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. You also have that mind game there from the earlier series, and so you might see some really crazy stuff, or you might see one of the players that lost earlier adapt very well to the other one. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. My boy Hydra's in there.
Yeah.
Still going strong.
Hold your horses, we'll come to that. We're going to show you the bracket first. This is how everyone got here. This is how their road to the final sort of looked. We had some great games earlier today. Hydra, who Harstam is absolutely hyped to see in the final, managed to crush SOS 3-0. Bunny as well against True. I mean, that was a big shock seeing the foreigner tumble out in that sort of fashion. Solar has been steady away all through the tournament on his road to the final. So many great games, actually, some really good series there.
Certainly, certainly. I've got to go back to that thing again, though. The fact that they met at the start of the tournament. You love it, don't you? The storylines.
I
love it when you meet at the start of a tournament and then you both trudge through together, and it's like, oh, you did pretty well, mate. It's like, oh, you did pretty well too. Let's see how this goes again. And it's like, it really is like a friendly little thing when you start off in the same group with anybody. It's beautiful, and both these guys have showcased magnificent CVZ. Like, they haven't been cheesy, they haven't been gimmicky. It's just been solid macro and positioning. I couldn't dream of. In fact, they are the best Zergs here. They are.
Well, I mean, you've been bigging up Hydra, the whole tournament, and we were kind of thinking, this is just Harstam. He's always playing favourites with players that he's lived with and and known quite well. But actually, your boy's come good.
Yeah, he's a very good player. I was a little bit scared when I saw him against Jador, and I was like, yeah, maybe.
He was 2-1 down.
Yeah, I was like, maybe this is where it ends for Hydra, but nah, pulled through. And yeah, I'm very happy to see him. And CTZ is looked extremely strong, and I feel like a little bit more diverse than Solar's.
Well, let's check out their head-to-head records. You can see, we're going to bring that up for you. I mean, first, there's a wonderful shot of the arena. We have had a great turnout today. Thanks to all the fans for coming in. But you can see here that Hydra, and let's be clear, I mean, Hydra is the up-and-comer here. Solar does have that experience, but I mean, you can see it's comprehensive here.
Well, when you say up-and-comer, like, both these guys come from Kesper teams, so these guys are old school when it comes to like Brood War practice and such. So they both come from Kesper teams. Hydra was from CJ initially, Solar's on Samsung, but Hydra really started to flourish when he was kind of given his own schedule, his own regime to like practice by, and he never really stops. Like, you see a tournament online, any cup whatsoever, you see Hydra's seed 1 in it every time, and he wins it every time. Like, he's just managed to make his own thing work, which you don't often see when these Kesper guys move away. They kind of get a bit sluggish, a bit lazy, but no, he just ramped it up. So very impressive.
Great pickup by Root as well, it's got to be said. I mean, there's an organisation that, you're not always associated with the very best players, elite players. More kind of community level players and players that are accessible, people can enjoy.
Yeah, it used to be very American based. We pick up the talents here and like the Seed Academy and such. They call them that. And then they brought on one big dog. It was like, okay, we're going to bring over Hydra, and it's like, why did you pick Hydra? And then it was very evident as to why Hydra was picked. Very good. He's learning English every day, like spends an hour learning it. So not only is he a freaking monster, he's also just a really likable, smiley guy with a big fringe,
Well, we can have a look at the road to the final as well, which we'll bring up for you just shortly. There we go. So this is the road to the final for Hydra. There's that 2-0 against Solar right at the start of the tournament you've talked about, Ben. But Harstam, why don't you take us through some of his other results there?
Yeah, 2-0 versus Symbol, 2-0 versus Sun. And well, I guess against Sun and SOS, it's not that important for this match, but the 2-0 against 2-0 against Symbol and against Jaedong is very, very important for this match, showing that he does have good CVZ, even though he lost to Solar. And I think Hydra is he's a very smart player. He's a player that can adapt to an opponent as well. He has a lot of different styles, I would say. He can throw out early stuff. I wouldn't put him in the early pool kind of guy, but definitely is a very diverse player. And in a best of 7, that's really what you need.
Quick question, which is more impressive? 3-0 against SOS, or the fact that he was able to grind out a win against Jaedong, who we know is so good against Zerg?
Honestly, I don't really know where to judge Jaedong's skill right now, but SOS has always been pretty consistent, despite like his 2-1 victory over Bling, where he looked like, oh, he lost the map and stuff. SOS is always very good.
I think you see we've got Solar's road to the final here. It's a bit cleaner, obviously, because it's got that 2-0 against Hydra in there, but he hasn't had a clean sweep in a series in the knockout stages.
Honestly, though, that 2-0 against Hydra and the fact that his history against Hydra is so one-sided that he beat him every time, a lot of StarCraft can come down to style clashes. You can be a lot better than a player, and like several other players can be better than him, but if this player just has a good style against your style, sometimes you're just running into a brick wall every time, and by their history together, it could be that case again.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm very curious to see how Solar will do it. He had to show a lot in the last series. He went 3-2. I guess it's the same for Hydra, but they both know a lot about each other. They know how they like to play now. We've seen a lot of ZVZ in this tournament. There were a lot of good Korean Zergs here. And I'm just so curious how they're going to adapt to each other. It's so cool to see that they both have a lot of information about each other, even played against each other, and then meeting in the end is, I feel like, the ultimate test.
Well, you can keep talking because we're about to bring up your boys' statistics here, and yeah, there you go. So, as you can see, I mean, really, really impressive.
Yeah, that's something else there, Rich. 76% in ZVC.
That's very high, and that's not against easy schmucks either. I mean,
we were all talking about, oh, Jaedong's the master of ZVZ because he's got 80%. Well, that's a stone throw away from that, mate.
Yeah, and Hydra took down the guy with the big percentage. And Jaedong's ZVZ, though, that is from a long time ago as well. You know, like,
yeah, absolutely. You know, there's lies, and statistics. I know, but still,
Hydra's just been incredibly consistent. In every matchup, I don't think there's a player in Europe that's like, oh yeah, I'm pretty good against Hydra. No one is good against Hydra. He's freaking good, man.
Yeah, in WCS, I didn't hear a single guy like, I hope I get picked by Hydra or get killed.
And
Hydra picks me.
His Solar statistics, he's just having a nice little
He's chilling, man. He's chilling.
Yes. You can see, you know, it's his ZVP that is way out in front.
But like the fact that he's going in to play the finals of this tournament and there he is just rocking out on his chair, that's a confident kid right there. And only 18 years old. That's darn impressive.
I mean, do we feel that Solar is the favourite here then? Because, you know, I know he's had more recent tournament wins than Hydra has. And we also talked about how Hydra has this almost second place kind of thing percolating.
You know, I don't think you can say there is a favourite here. I really don't. Despite the record history in the most recent match between these guys going in Solar's favour, Solar's been in a lot of finals and he's won finals such as DreamHacks and such. But Hydra's been exactly the same. He's been in a lot of finals and he's just been getting better and better. Both these guys, incredibly talented, and they're both solid. They're not basing their key fundamentals on anything besides just being naturally good. Like mechanics out of this world. So is there a favourite here? I mean, I'd give a slight edge to Solar just based on history, but besides that.
Well, it is time to put your money where your mouth is. Prediction time, boys. So I've got a feeling, Kev, I know which way you're going to lean on this one.
All right, I think it's going to be 4-3 for Hydra.
So it's going the distance.
Going the distance.
4-1 Solar.
Oof. Big prediction. Bam.
Smack in my face.
Yeah, that prediction's more exciting than Mayweather and Pacquiao, that was, Ben. Well done. Well, look, we'll see if you're right. You haven't been right a lot of the time, Ben.
What about? I got the whole yesterday right, mate.
The whole?
Yeah.
You are.
Besides the 3-2.
I'm going to talk to production and get them to bring up Ben's predictions. Let's see if we can get a head-to-head record between you two.
Please don't.
Yeah, let's not do that. But anyway, look, great to talk to you. We better watch the final now. I'm hyped for it. So here it is. We're going to have Rotterdam and Caldor casting it. Take it away, boys.
Thank you very much. Well, guys, we have our best of 7 series, a Zerg versus Zerg with Solar versus Hydra. And apparently your opinions on that one are split, at least in the analysis desk. What do you think is going to take it here?
I'm kind of leaning towards Hydra, but I do think it's going to be very close. Like, I think it's such a hard series to call. And of course, Solar has defeated him in the past. And it's a ZVZ, man. We saw in the semifinals, as soon as you get to this stage of the tournament, it's so damn hard to make the difference. All of these guys, their scouting is top-notch, their macro is top-notch, they know how to position their armies, and often if one player is ahead, they just don't throw away any lead. So, I mean, a 4-0 either way is extremely unlikely.
Yeah, I feel like right now this is an extremely difficult one to call, and both of them have shown exceptional play. And for Hydra, it's actually an interesting situation, being here in the final once again. The last time he had to play against Parting and lost that series. Now he's facing a Zerg player, but Solar, of course, the monster in the matchup. We've already seen that. And for Hydra, of course, it would be like a bit of a crushing defeat if he loses again in the final, making it all the way there. Would be a bit heartbreaking, but well, this is a Zerg versus Zerg, and it's going to be a close one either way.
You know what they say, Keldor, third time's a charm. This is his third final in a very short period, so maybe this is the moment for Hydra. Let's take a look at the map videos real quick, as we can see that, well, actually, I have no idea what this graphic means. Like,
well, we have a best of 7.
Someone can count to 6. Oh yeah, that's right. Nobody vetoes anything. That's awesome. So Cactus Valley is going to be the last map.
Math on stream, Kev.
Yeah, so it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that's right. Best of 7. All maps are available. Whoo! Something that stands out over here. I think the first... Okay, Inferno Pools, map number 4, I think that's the first kind of like, wow, okay, it's as 4th already, you know, I kind of expected as 6th or 7th. Other than that, obviously, this doesn't tell us a whole lot. Echo as first map, I think it's very standard. I think the first 3 are very standard. It's kind of surprising to see Coda being the 5th map, but the wait is over. Let's not wait any longer as we are loaded into the finals of the Gfinity Championship.
And starting to the top left of our first map in the best of 7 series here, we have on Echo, the Zerg player in brew for Root Gaming. It is Hydra! And down to the bottom right, cross position, 18 years old in the final at Gfinity for the first time. It is Solar! We've been talking about this earlier. It's actually quite impressive. Solar, just 18 years old, speaks very good English, a very nice person as well. And you just said that you're very impressed with him as a person in general, not only as a player. Can you completely agree with that? This kid he's going places.
Yeah, he just makes a very good impression on me. He seems very confident, very secure of himself. He's so well-spoken, so calm, so likable, and he's still so young. He's definitely a guy that you can see he's going to do great things in life. You know, whether it's within esports or without of esports, you can totally see him going places. But on the other hand, Hydra is also a very likable guy. You know, he made a very ambitious move. Like, for us in the Western world, moving to the US, maybe it's like, yeah, that's a little bit of a step, but, you know, it's just a different country. But going from Korea to the US, I can definitely see that that is a big step, and that's something that you can definitely get very nervous over. But Hydra has done it, and he seems to just be really enjoying himself. I think he's blossoming, man.
I think it's a very, very smart move for a Korean player to just move abroad, try to just like improve his English and also play in a different environment. And for him, it certainly has worked out. In the game now, as we can see, we have both of them going for a hedge first. This is, of course, a best of 7 series, so we could see a lot of curveballs being thrown at one point or another. We've seen already a lot of early pulls, especially in the series with Jaedong earlier. And of course, once again, guys, you can use, if you want to tweet at us, then make sure that you include the hashtag SE2Masters, and it could appear on stream here as well. So if you want to give a shout out to one of the boys here, then make sure to do that now. We have gas going down for both of the players, and I'm really excited about this. I guess we're going to see a lot of roaches, but still, I wouldn't be surprised if we see the one or other early pool.
I definitely think people on Twitter should join in on a little prediction game. Like, how many early pools are we going to see? Because I can definitely see a 9 pool or 2 being added in a best of 7. Because neither of these two players is afraid to go hedge first. We even saw in the previous series, like, True going, like, hedge first in the 5th game as well, which is always like kind of risky, and I'm pretty sure that Solo looked at it as like, man, you know, if Hydra's going to do the same kind of greed as True does, then maybe I can early pull him once. But Hydra's already shown us in the quarterfinals against SOS that he's too not afraid to throw in an early pull. So I definitely think, you know, that's always fun, and we're going to keep a close eye on the build orders over and over again. But in game number 1, it's very standard.
We need our two teams here, Team Harstem and Team the Muslim. Both of them, of course, going for very opposite predictions here, especially like the Muslims being very sure that Solar would take this with a landslide victory. But well, for now we have speed coming up for both of them. It's actually like exactly the same build that we're seeing coming out from those two players. So it's going to be all about the first engagements here, and maybe they're going to start deviating pretty soon. But for now, it's exactly the same opening.
Now I paid very close attention to the last 5 games, because often when you're series not casting, I think you can even pick out more than when you're actually casting it. Because when you're casting it, you have to worry about a lot of things. You want to make sure you don't miss anything. But if you're just watching the games, you lean back, you see everything. And I truly felt that in all 5 games, the first player to make a big spell of Zerglings was losing in that last series between Tro and Solar. And that's just because these guys are so damn good, and it's often even hard to like emphasize on how good they truly are with their small things. But the scouting has been phenomenal by pretty much all top 4 Zergs we've seen so far. They always get a few extra drones, but they never go crazy on the drones, so they will still have a little bit of larva saved up. Like, alright, if you're making Zerglings, I can have just enough to defend, and then I'm gonna have a small economic lead. Like, ZVZ may not always be the most spectacular, the most explosive matchup to watch, but there is a lot of fine detail in what these guys are doing, and it's something you can truly appreciate.
It's definitely something that also Stefano pointed out earlier, and in this game we also have a bit of a deviation there. It's actually really interesting how it works. We have first of all the Baneling Nest coming up for Hydra, and this is something that gets scouted by Solar, and the immediate reaction is that he starts to play it a bit more defensive, throws down a Spine Crawler that he can of course at any point cancel. We have him also in a situation where he goes into faster lair tech, and as a reaction to all of this we are seeing Hydra going straight for third base because he knows that at this point he has map control.
Yep, he's probably figured out as well, like, hey man, I think you cancelled Zergling speed. I know you started at a certain point, but that layer is very quick and you're just not producing any Zerglings whatsoever. Probably saw the Roach one in the front as well, and like the way that Solar was defending this, Hydra's like, alright, you're cutting a corner or two, that's fine, you cheeky guy, I'm just gonna get a better economy myself.
Yeah, and at this point, with the third base coming up, we have still 2 links in the main base going for the scout here. +1 attack upgrade has started for both of the players.
Okay, now that is a hatchery I think Hydra could potentially do something about. It's very risky, of course, because if he starts producing a lot of links, he fires up 8 links immediately. Like, this is the first real commitment in the game right now. How many links is he going to make? 16 links. That is theoretically enough to cancel, and that was some cute micro over there on that one drone. That drone has got some great insurance, but I mean 16 links is theoretically enough to cancel that hatch, but Solar is also producing roaches. If Solar is able to keep that hatch alive, I like Solar's position.
There's actually a lot of Zerglings that he's building, not only 16, he went up to 24 and he has...
Oh my god.
Exactly, that's a massive amount of Zerglings that he currently puts out there. And the longer he waits, the more difficult it's going to be for him to really have an impact with this army, since that +1 attack upgrade is already halfway done. And of course, once the hatch is completed, he could also throw down a Spine Crawler. At this point, it's looking really like Hydra wants to do massive damage with this.
Yeah, I mean, but this is awesome though, because this is kind of like what you often see in PvZ. How are you going to position your unit, Solar? And 2 roaches get cut out of position immediately. I feel this is a phenomenal start for Hydra. He tries to surround all those roaches, and then he changes his mind. He's like, nah, he probably shouldn't do that. Let's just go for the hatchery, try to kill it or cancel it. Solar lets it finish. Couple of transfuses will go down, but these links will still take down this hatchery, and now Hydra can just get the hell out of there. I feel that was worth it, man. That was totally worth it.
Yeah, it was definitely worth it, like, for sure. In this situation, you need to keep your roaches also together. The first 2 that got sniped, that didn't really help him either. But without that +1 attack upgrade, the numbers were too big. Again, he catches roaches in the middle of the map. There are a few reinforcements that come in. +1 is about to finish, and then he can really take them out. But he's a bit too late. So Hydra doing a lot of damage here early on already. But of course, he also sacrificed a ton of larva for that.
Yeah, but I mean, he's like, this is not a position where I think Solar can attack. Yes, he had quicker roach speed and stuff, but he knows if he attacks right now and he ends up losing those roaches, he will never be able to get his drone cut up to the number where he probably eventually wants to get. Well, right now, even though Solar has a few more drones, Hydra is severely outmining his opponent, because mining off 3 bases with 53 workers is way better than mining off 2 bases with 56 workers.
That third base this early in the game definitely helps Hydra a lot, and you can tell that already. The +2 attack upgrade has started for both of them, so in regards to the upgrades, they're actually on eye level here. We're having the third base now coming up once again for Solar 2, who of course wants to start mining here, and he has a significant roach amount, so he can really start to put that to some use, and it actually starts to even out for the 2 players again.
Yeah, but I still kind of like Hydra's position a little bit more. He should have more larva to work with. Everything should be lining up for him just a tiny bit quicker, because he's been outmining his opponent for the last 2.5 minutes in this game, so that should be good enough. Right now, Solar is going to be able to catch up a tiny bit as he's 5 workers ahead. That is not a ridiculous number, but it is a number that you're definitely going to feel a little bit. I'm curious to see if we're going to see maybe some extra extractors being dropped. If some player is going to try to make the move into Infestors, but I feel right now if you're Solar, there's no way you want to start adding in Hydras or Infestors, because you know that you took that economic hit, you know that you took that production hit by losing that hatchery, so he's just going to try to max out on +2 roaches and just see where it goes. Hydra on the other end may try to max out and then throw down a tech building already and be like, alright, I'm going to trade roaches out, and then behind it I'm going to have maybe a couple of Hydras. Yeah, Hydra can have Hydras behind it and stuff. But I've seen a couple of ZVZs of Hydra, even very recently on this map, Echo, against Snoot, and he stayed on nothing but roaches for like 28 minutes, so maybe he won't do that.
Well, right now they're both rushing in with the roaches, and so far we actually have quite a bit of a creep spread down here for Solar too. That's going to help him with the Queen, so that he can at least bounce from one base to another for maybe the additional transfuse. We really have just Hydra trying to apply pressure once again, and Solar just didn't give up that defense position that he had earlier. And here comes the Roach battle already. They're both jumping into it immediately. The +2 attacks upgrade are about to finish roughly at the same time, and we have a nice position here for Solar. Hydra has to be careful. The reinforcements are going to be so much faster here in the battle for Solar, and Hydra already running away here, but he took some severe losses there.
Yeah, that was just not a battle that Hydra could win. Even upgrades and even roach numbers while fighting into a concave of Solar, and Solar was going to have the quicker reinforcements. Hydra was going to try to make a stand over here on the high ground, and he will push Solar back for now. But if you take a look at the amount of roaches that have been lost in this game so far, I'm pretty sure that Hydra just lost more roaches than Solar. And let's not forget that before this battle happened, Solar lost 4, 5, 6 roaches to a couple of Zerglings early on. So that victory was definitely, or that battle was definitely a decisive victory for Solar.
Both of them expanding again. Well, we don't really have an expansion for Hydra. We have him with another macro hatch where Solar just says, alright, I have control of the map now. I can go for a 4th base. That's exactly what he does. Yeah. If he can establish that, he's going to get farther and farther ahead in the game. We have both of them going for the upgrades. Also Burrow coming into play now. And this is Solar now suddenly starting to poke and trying to put Hydra in his place.
Yeah, and Solar still has an army supply advantage. Of course, a couple of roaches are streaming across the map and a few of them are still in production. But I think it's much more likely that Solar will be able to make something happen here than it was for Hydra in that previous battle. It's a small miracle to me that Solar was able to stay on even supply throughout the entirety of that game, despite losing that hatch, despite losing a couple of roaches. He did a really good job in macroing up behind that and just never skipped a beat, and he had the same amount of roaches as Hydra in the previous battle.
And he's going into the fight immediately. Good concave here for Hydra, trying to win this fight here. Of course, Solar needs to be careful. He has that 4th base coming up. I don't really think he has to fight here, but he goes for it. And right now, Hydra is still a bit behind in army supply, but he is winning this battle. He has the defender's advantage right now and is trading very well against his opponent. Suddenly Solar has to move back once again, and this attack surprises me a bit with that 4th base coming up for him. I don't really feel that he had to attack into this.
This is classic ZVZ. Perhaps he was afraid that he wants to make sure maybe that Hydra stays on nothing but roaches, because Solar knows if you're going to stay on roaches and I'm going to stay on roaches, then eventually this should be better for me, because hey, I'm the guy who's going to be on 4 bases. Maybe that was the thought process, but I don't think he overcommitted. Yeah, he lost a few more roaches than his opponent, but that's alright. Like, he's still gonna have that 4th base up and running so much quicker. Solar has Burrow this time as well. He's getting Tunneling Claws too. I've seen Tunneling Claws, you know, do devastating things in this matchup. If there's a big roach battle, you separate 3-4 roaches of the pack and you send them to the natural, you send them to the main base, and then suddenly your opponent has to worry about losing drones left and right. Can be very frustrating to deal with.
Definitely, and this is also one of those trademark plays that Solar always uses. But now suddenly the supply in army is again even, and we have Hydra going for another base. Solar not really saturating his 4th just yet. He has a few drones over there, but not too many. And we are seeing now that Hydra is trying to move out on the map, limiting his opponent's vision once again, and tries to get into position towards that 4th.
Okay, the first 3 roaches are about to show up at the 3rd base of Hydra. That's very frustrating. Who was getting a Spore Crawler, so he was aware of this. Hydra does have better upgrades though. He has +1 carapace. I do not believe that Solar has. Actually, no, but Solar has +1 carapace as well, so they're dead even in upgrades so far.
Great battle here once again for Solar. He's trading very well against his opponent here and still takes down Harvesters at the same time to the left side of the map. 9 drones killed already, and the battle down here is going very well for the Zerg player in red. He takes a 40 supply lead in this game already, doubling his opponent's army supply. Solar with a massive victory here, still on 4 bases, and he can now move towards the 4th of his opponent and take down Hydra's satellite expansion.
If Solar is able to snipe this hatch, that would be almost game-ending damage. There's no way that Hydra can afford to lose this hatchery, being down 40 army supply right now. He's trying to go up to +2 armor, but I don't think that's ever going to kick in play in time. He's going to try to keep this hatch alive, but I really like Solar's position, and Solar will win game number 1 on Echo.
GG, and well played by Solar here. Good battles that he took, and yeah, the 4th base really coming to play for him too. And for Hydra, I feel like especially the roaches that burrowed in, as you already mentioned, that distracts you so much from the battle itself, and if you focus on only the battle, you lose so many harvesters that you will have a tough time coming back from that deficit.
I mean, this was still a very interesting game to look at, and again, by the way, the guy who produces the first lings will end up losing, as Hydra did make that ling attack, but I don't mind that big, like, theoretically, I am behind that, or like I totally agree with that big roach attack that Hydra made, because he should have had more roaches, right? Like, he cancelled the hatch, he was mining off 3 bases way longer than his opponent, he even picked off a couple of roaches with the zerglings he produced. So in theory, like, going for that big roach attack made sense, because I kind of thought he would have more roaches as well, but he didn't. You know, ZVZ works in mysterious ways, so...
I guess the problem that he really had was that he was fighting so close to the base of his opponent. The queens can move in for a quick transfuse, lend a bit of additional damage, you get the reinforcements in faster, so you really need to time the disengage here. And he tried, but he was falling a bit behind, and Solar took map control after that. So we are starting with a 1-0 lead into the best of 7 series here at the Gfinity Spring Masters Finals. And game number 2 is going to be played on Vani Research Station.
And of course, Solar was in a strong defensive position though in that very first, perhaps key fight of that game. He had all of his roaches in a great concave, and I do like what Hydra was going. Like, instead of attack moving and letting all the roaches shoot from a distance, he's like, no, I'm going to commit to this. So he moved everything forward, and on that point, there's almost no going back, and he knew that. He was just hoping that perhaps he was able to like make this fight snowball in his favor, but he wasn't. And in the end, Solar from that point on didn't really make any mistakes anymore. Played it out very well. These guys, man, like, I know it's ZVZ and I know it just looks like roaches trading back and forth on both sides of the map, but there truly is a lot of beauty in this matchup, especially when it's played on this level.
Yeah, the tactical decisions here are very, very nice. Well, the one thing on the other hand that we have now in the tournament itself is if you count the games that they played in the group stage, we have Solar now being 3-0 and this weekend against Hydra. And at some point that has to mess with you. So Vani Research Station for me personally is really going to be a key map. If Hydra doesn't take it here, I'm not sure how exactly he's going to plan on coming back into this. I know that I would be devastated going 0-4 at a weekend. At some point you have to look at the maps and you have to ask yourself, what can I do to beat this guy?
Am I ever going to beat this guy?
Exactly.
The funny thing is though, like, that was the same story with Polt and 4GG during the WCS semi-finals. 4GG beat Polt already a couple of times, and then I think he was up again, and then we were like, oh man, poor Polt, he seems like no idea how to beat 4GG, and then Polt just turned it around and like suddenly won that semi-final. So it's definitely possible, and certainly in mirror matchups often it's just like one thing that has to click, and then suddenly your confidence level goes through the sky.
That's definitely true, and I mean, for now we have a 1-0 lead for our Zerg play in red. Starting to the top of the map here on Vani Research Station, it is with the lead in the best of 7 final, Solar. The 18-year-old going up against his Root Gaming opponent. Starting to the bottom of the map, it is Hydra. And you know, with comebacks, you make a really good point. I think the one game that I really saw where Zerg versus Zerg went completely nuts was back at Iron Squid, where Live was facing DRG in the finals, and it was a 3-0, and everybody like in production was already looking, and it was like, oh my god, it's gonna be a 4-0, and suddenly Live just starts winning map after map after map and turns the entire thing around, with Antigua Shipyard back then still in the map pool, being the decisive map between the two of them. That was crazy. I wouldn't mind something like that happening.
Yeah, that was a legendary finals. I think it's only happened twice in Starcraft 2 history that a player was up 3-0 and still managed to lose, and that was one of those moments. You know what's really cool? The very first time I ever saw Solar and Hydra in real life was at the same tournament. It was roughly a year ago, a tournament called the Red Bull Battlegrounds Global. They qualified online and they got flown out to Santa Monica in the USA. It was a 6-man tournament where players could pick each other. There were 4 Zergs and 2 Terrans, and all the Zergs teamed up on Polt and MMA. They both got eliminated very quickly. Solar and Hydra were kind of avoiding each other. Hydra was eliminated, I believe, back then as Sword. He was still representing CJ. Solar had like an agreement agreement with Impact not to pick each other. But then in the end, they suddenly betrayed each other, and DRG was able to win that tournament. But it was very fun. That's the first time I met them. I think for both of them, the first time they made a trip to the US. So they're definitely familiar with each other, because I remember going to dinner with them and stuff. So these two guys, they're on friendly terms, and they have a little bit of history.
It's actually one of the amazing things about most players in the Korean scene, that even before or after like games, they are very, very friendly. They will go out and get dinner together. There's like no real big like a couple of rivalries in terms of like sportsmanship, but never really any kind of like scenarios where you really like hate on somebody else and you don't like him. A couple, but not too
It's
many.
really fun though, because like even though the Koreans are always so polite in their interviews, like behind the scenes, whenever you ask them about a certain player, if they are not close with them, they'll be like, nah, he's really chobo, he can only play one way, and like my jaw just dropped open. I was like, what? He's like, no, he's terrible, he's just lucky. I was like, really? It's really funny. They are a couple, but these two guys, I do think they really have a lot of respect for each other, and they get along very well.
Yeah, they definitely do. I mean, now we have with the opening a bit of a variation, nothing all too fancy. We had a hatch first and into pool, and on the other side a pool into hatch. But we see an early evolution chamber now on the side of Hydra, and that could lead us into one of those early armor upgrades.
Yeah, I kind of like it if we're going to see something different. Oh, there is a ridiculous build, by the way, on this matchup where you just save up like an absolutely insane amount of... Look at this. I have the feeling that what Hydra is going to do here, he's going to make so many Zerglings of a very low economy. I think I recently saw Kane do this on Vani, but I'm not 100% sure if it was Kane. If it wasn't, I'm sorry, Kane. But I know I've seen it twice, and it's kind of... I think Jaedong did it as well in the Ding It Invitational very recently. And it's just the type of build that if your opponent doesn't see this coming, color, well, there's just no stopping. Like, he's going to have to worry about what I believe is going to be like 60 or 70 Zerglings with a +1 attack. It's a really cool build. I've seen it multiple times on Vani. And it has always worked whenever I saw it. Let's see if it works this time for Hydra.
It's definitely hyper aggressive. The upgrade has already started. The +1 is on the way. And as we saw with the block of the drone at the ramp, you just can't get into that base. So at this point with the Queen even at the ramp, there's no way you can get into it and really scout that there is currently something placed there. So you need to rely on the Overlord. And the Overlord is not going to get into that position to see that evolution chamber because of the Queen and how the map works.
So what I think Hydra is going to hope for is that Solar will just make a few roaches and then try to go up to 3 bases rather quickly, you know, like just try to get a good economic lead for himself, and then put units between the 3rd base, they expand on the low ground, and his ramp. And if that happens, then Hydra can just swarm that army with like an insane amount of Zerglings, catch a couple of units, then break the ramp and win the game. What Solar will probably have to do is just stay on 2 bases, or even sacrifice the base on the low ground if he decides to get one, and just make sure you get all your queens, all your roaches, and maybe a spine on your main ramp, and I think then you're going to be okay. But Solar right now is actually a player that's making 12 Zerglings, and that's rather surprising.
Yeah, he got the speed upgrade. He's getting 14 Zerglings. He feels that something is up here. Oh, and he sees, of course, also that 3rd base. So with the Zerglings, he might just try to apply some pressure here.
There's a good chance that the Hydra is never going to try to saturate that 3rd base, though. It's just bait. And like, look at the amount of links that are on production tab already. He's making a lot of them. But Solar is still on 2 bases. And if Solar spots this amount of links, and even more importantly, if he clicks on one of these links as soon as +1 attack finishes up, that is a massive tell. Like, I like what Hydra is doing over here, by the way. He's showing a few. He's like, nothing too crazy going on over here. I'm just making like your casual 12 to 14 links. Solar is making a lot of links himself, though. But let's not forget, +1 Zerglings, they absolutely murder just regular Zerglings. And right now, Solar, if he would click on one of these links, I'm not sure if he's doing it, but then he could see that these links have +1 and that he has to be very, very careful.
Yeah, there come more Zerglings for Hydra, and Solar is going straight into lair. He has the +1 attack upgrade also for the roaches. Let's not forget, once the roaches are in and the +1 attack upgrade is there, it's going to be great. But Solar cannot take this fight.
No.
He cannot take this fight now. He needs to back up.
It may not seem like a very big deal, but +1 Zerglings are so incredibly good against just regular Zerglings. Solar, this is not a fight you can take. He's losing all of his Zerglings immediately. Look at that. That was a landslide victory for Hydra. He's going to be able to get a cancel on that base as well. The most important thing for Solar is, though, that he holds his ramp. But will he be able to hold his ramp? I'm afraid he won't. No, the Zergling's streaming through already.
He did not see the +1 attack upgrade, took the fight, and all of his Zerglings are suddenly gone. And when he realized that it's too late, that GG and Hydra takes the 1-1, ties it up. I like it. We're off to a good start here.
It's a cheeky build. It's a real cheeky build, Calder. But I've seen it work like multiple times. It's just something that's very hard to scout or to sniff out if you're like playing against it. But I do think there was one small moment, and I think Solar is going to be kicking himself for it when those speedlings were on his side of the map when they were trying to pick up that drone that was going to morph into that hatchery on the low ground. He could have clicked on those links, and I think if he would have seen that those links had +1 attack, he would have immediately retreated all links to his side of the map and just like, alright, 2 bases is what it is for me right now. I'm going to couple of roaches. I'm going to wait until I have my +1 on the roaches, and then I will fight. But there's no way I'm ever going to fight Ling on Ling when my opponent has +1.
He definitely didn't see it. Like, as you already said, he sent a few of the Zerglings out, and that might have been the time where Solar double-checked, but he never realized that there was an early upgrade for his opponent. We saw great blocking at the ramp for Hydra, where he was trying to make sure that no Zergling rushes into the base. When the upgrade is done, he moves in, takes that fight. Solar is like, yeah, there's a bunch of Zerglings. I even have a few more than you do. And suddenly he realized, well, my Zerglings are all gone. What just happened? Then he clicks the Zergling and sees the +1 attack upgrade. His queen is nearly dead already from the fight earlier. And at that point, there's very little that he can do. So we are starting into map number 3 with a 1-1 situation. I'm liking this. This is starting to be a very cool series.
Well, at least one prediction was right, and that's the one I said. There is no way this is going to be a 4-0 either way. Like, these two guys are too evenly matched. They're both so good, so smart in this matchup, and most of the time their scouting is just absolutely phenomenal. I do think that Solar can be kicking himself a tiny bit there for not figuring that out a little bit quicker, but it's just one of these things. Like, in a best of 7, that's going to happen eventually.
The next map, as we already said, is going to be Expedition Lost, and let's see who's going to take the lead here again. Solar, of course, well, he was quite confident going into the series, but right now Hydra must feel good. As we've been talking about before, so far Solar was 3-0 in the tournament against him. Now with the first victory at the beginning of the match immediately, he must feel very good about himself here and say like, all right, I can definitely take this guy down. He's not unbeatable, and I can come back into this. He doesn't have my number just yet.
Okay. And game number 1 was, of course, a very standard ZVZ, right? It's like, okay, one guy made links a little bit quicker and tried to cancel and expand, but at the end of the day, it was still a Roach Festival. Game 2, things already got a little wilder with all these Zerglings with a +1 attack, and there's a good chance that from here on, it's just going to balls to the walls crazy, man. Like, it's going to be, like, hopefully all over the place with crazy build orders, maybe some cool tech switches. I hope to see Muda play at least once in this series, but among the Koreans, it's just not very popular right now.
We're gonna see if one of the players has something special planned for this map. Starting to the bottom left, we have now in red the Zerg player. It is Solar! Taking the first map and losing then on map number 2 against this handsome fella up to the top right for Root Gaming. It is Hydra!
I would say this is definitely one of the maps where you could throw in an early pull once in a while, but you have to be damn sure that your opponent does want to go hatch first. I don't think they are going to do it, but this is one of the more fun maps. Even when this turns into a Roach versus Roach festival, what makes this map good for Zergs normally against Protoss, those backdoor rocks or those ice blocks that are there. Like, if you can take those out, then suddenly there can just be roaches all over the place, and especially when players are as fast as these two, I mean, you can see some real crazy stuff with like 3-4 battles going on at the same time.
Yeah, the multitasking in Zerg versus Zerg can be absolutely amazing. We've been seeing a bit of that in the first game when Solar was using those borrowed roaches against the economy of his opponent. But of course, it can get a lot more crazy than that when you have like 2 or 3 forces roaming the map, and especially the economy of your opponent. This could be definitely a good one. And I mean, for both of them, this is about getting a lead in the series there. We've already seen that Hydra is very willing to risk something, and I like that a lot.
It seems like there is going to be hatch first, actually on both sides over here. So one of these guys is like, hatch first. Okay, that's the second time in this series. We did it on Echo, we did it on Expedition Lost. There's a good chance that I think the next game one of these guys is going to go for an early pull.
Oh, well, at this point we have both of them just going straight into that first, as you mentioned, so more for an economy play. But yeah, early pools are always like fun to watch, and especially if you have one player that's extremely good at the defense. We've seen a few games with like True and Jadong earlier on today, or yesterday actually. They were very, very entertaining. Wouldn't mind to see something like this in the series here as well. It's still the exact same build for the two of them, with the pool and also the gas going down at exactly the same time. You can see the overlords on the map starting to scout out what's happening there, and with the timing on that natural, they of course know exactly about the type of build their opponent will have.
As this is a mirror image so far, nothing crazy happening on either side. You asked me what my prediction was in the start of the series, but I didn't ask yours, Keldor. Who are you leaning towards?
I'm actually leaning a bit towards Solar. I personally would really love for Hydra to win, just because I feel that him being for the second time in the final here, it would just be amazing to see him finally get his victory. And as you already said, he's such a nice person. Solar, I just feel like in ZVZ he has a bit of the upper hand, because he's just been always incredibly strong in this matchup. But I agree with the assessment of most of the people that have been asked so far. It's going to be a close one.
Alright, well, speed is on the way for Hydra. Solar will probably start his speed real soon as well. Let's see if he actually lets it finish this time, or if he's going to play with the same trick as he did on Echo, where he cancels Zergling speed just to get layer a little bit quicker, and then you can get access to Roach speed a little bit quicker. It's a cool build. It's something that we've seen quite often. I think even Violet has done it multiple times in the past, but it's also not something that's going to give you a massive advantage. Like, speed roaches are awesome, but it doesn't necessarily mean you can just march across the map and win, because, you know, it's not like they do double damage.
We have actually also seen a few builds now, once again in this tournament, where you can just go for the slow roach attack, and you try to use that on 3 bases, and just don't go into there, don't go into the double upgrades, don't use that. But once again, we're having in this game the extra Overlord and a couple of additional Zerglings here for Hydra, putting 10 out on the map now, and trying to just poke a bit to put his opponent into a defensive position.
Now this is the type of aggression we saw very often in the previous series, and I have the feeling that if you want to do this, that's fine, but I have the feeling it has to be a big commitment. Don't make 16 links and just hope for the best, because your opponent will most likely be ready and then have a few more drones, defend it, and then you just give him the lead. Now Solar is actually making a ridiculous amount of links as well, so perhaps he's already feeling that this was coming. He just had 2 more drones. One of those drones is morphing into a baneling nest right now, and normally with a defensive baneling or 2, you should never die against just speedlings and speedlings only.
Yeah, he has a lot of Zerglings by now, and it looks really like he wants to go for the aggression. He definitely could. The baneling nest is coming down for Hydra too, just a bit later. Shouldn't really be a big tiny window unless Solar hits it perfectly. But for now, it's just both of them rushing around the map. Yeah. There's no way you can do anything with this Hydra.
No, Hydra has to be very careful over here. If he ends up losing most of his Zerglings, that could be very bad, because he has to worry about the counterattack that will definitely come. He might get a queen. No, he actually doesn't get the queen just yet. Well, the queen does die eventually, but he lost so many Zerglings. I really don't feel that was a good trade for Hydra at all.
I don't think that he had a chance of winning this with 2 queens already in position and all of the Zerglings already there and a few more about to pop. The drones even coming off the mineral line. That was a nice defense by his Solar, and he takes a bit of a lead there. He has a 7-worker lead, and we've been talking about how this is really important in ZVZ. And let's not forget about the banelings here. Cancel actually on the side of Hydra, since he realizes he won't be able to morph them in this position. He's the one who's playing more defensive now.
I actually think that Solar could have let those banelings finish, or at least use them as bait, because even if these Zerglings would have started working on the banelings, then he could have picked them off with his Zerglings on its own. But of course, it's a little bit of an investment, and cancelling them gives him resources to spend somewhere else. He's still morphing quite a few banelings though. I'm not sure if these are defensive or offensive. Are they all in the middle of the map? He's going to try to do something with it, but the Overlord has spotted it. Hydra is going to try to counterattack, as he had so much success with that in some of the previous matchups, but it's going to be difficult, man. He has to be so careful. With so many Zerglings on this side of the map, imagine if he runs one clump of that Zergling army into a baneling, then it's just absolutely GG. It's game over immediately.
Yeah, good Overlord spell.
Oh, he actually gets it. That's so sick.
Hydra gets a perfect one, and now all of a sudden, yeah, Solar has to be very careful here. About to lose another queen. Lynx rushing into the economy, trying to take down the drones. The harvester count still much better for Solar, but in army supply, he's actually taking the lead here. He's doing still very well.
But still, that was really good, because Hydra was definitely in a very dicey position, but that bought him a little bit of time. That forced Solar to suddenly worry about defending. That's an okay trade as well. He morphs like sacrifices those 3-4 Zerglings that were probably going to die anyway into 2 more banelings. So that went very well for Hydra. Great connection with that baneling that just kind of came out of nowhere, but took down so many Zerglings to the grave. Right now Hydra has to worry a tiny bit about these Zerglings, but he has 14 Zerglings on the production tab, so I think he's going to be okay.
Yeah, he should be able to defend this. He has the 2 queens already on top of the ramp. There's not enough Zerglings to really get a decent surround on both of them and on the Zerglings, but we have a Roach one already completed for Solar, so the transition is happening. Burrow, on the other hand, for Hydra here on the tab, he cancels that. Apparently it was just a misclick, since he wanted to go into the Roach Barn instead, which he's now throwing down.
Yeah. Maybe he thought about the biggest burrow banelings ever and just like blow up a bunch of roaches, but you need a lot of banelings, would be a very big commitment. He's gonna try to test the waters one more time on the other side of the map, but there are a lot of banelings over here in the mix. Hydra has to be very careful. That's a good scout though, it's not a big scout, as these two guys will just continue with fabulous scouting throughout these games. Spotting all these roaches helps him, but I'm not sure what Hydra is supposed to do. He doesn't really have an answer to these roaches right now. And look at the reinforcements behind this. Like Solar is gonna go all out with this attack. 20 Zerglings behind this can morph them into banelings as well. Big attack for Solar.
Yeah, with those speedlings, you really just want to make them cross the map as fast as possible. The roaches are, of course, going to take a bit longer than that. And here we go. They are starting to move in. A big amount of banelings morphing here for Solar. 14 at a time. The roaches moving up that ramp, forcing their way into the natural of the opponent. There are too many banelings protecting the roaches against the Zerglings as well. And Solar in a great position, goes straight for the Queen. Tries to take down the first one. The Transfuse are starting to hit. A few roaches are coming off the ramp for the Zerg player in blue here too. Hydra is trying to defend, but he is so far down in Army Splice, 40 against 17, and Solar taking down the entire economy. 16 Harvesters are dead, and the GG as Solar takes the lead in the series with a 2-1.
Very explosive game 3 in this best of 7 series, but very well done by Solar. But I do think that Hydra can blame himself a tiny bit for that game. That very first fight that he took was just not necessary. He was fighting against the same amount of Zerglings, and he saw how many Zerglings Solar had as well. And there were 2 Queens there, and they were in a good defensive position. Like, there was no way he was ever going to break Solar there. And even though, like, it's frustrating as a Zerg, if you make that many Zerglings, you feel, hey man, I've already committed to this. I want to do something, but sometimes you just have to realize, like, alright, I'm gonna cut my losses over here. This is not going to work, but at least I'm not gonna lose all of these Zerglings.
Yeah, he was like trying to make something happen, but with the Queens and everything, there was just no way for him. And Solar just played it very well, had a Roachborn already in position then, and he just moved cross map, built these Zerglings behind it, never really missed an inject there. And with all the Banelings, I mean, they blew up the economy at the natural so fast, there was nothing that Hydra could do. So the next map for us is going to be Inferno Pools. That's going to be map number 4 currently in this best of 7 series at the Gfinity Spring Masters. We have Solar with a 2-1 lead. And before we are going into map number 4, we're going to jump into a short break. And once we're back, we're going straight into the next series. So guys, stay tuned. We'll be back in a few. Welcome back to the Gfinity Spring Masters, ladies and gentlemen, the Zerg versus Zerg best of 7 final between Solar and Hydra. A 2-1 lead for Solar, playing really well, taking the last map here. The next one is going to be Inferno Pools. We've already seen a few curveballs here, and Hydra, especially when he was behind after map number 1, went for an all-out attack with +1 upgraded Zerglings that went very well for him. Do you expect him to get aggressive again in this game now?
Inferno Pools is definitely one of the crazier maps in the current map pool, because that ramp, like normally that's a good thing for Zerg. It's so wide, so it's really frustrating. Like even world-class Terran players like Maru sometimes like mess up walling off that ramp, and then you have your average Protoss player like myself who messes up walling that ramp every single ladder game I play. So like it's a very tricky map, but it of course also goes for ZVZ. This is definitely a map where you can make some crazy stuff happen, and overall it's also a good roach map. This is maybe even a map where we could see some Mutalisk play, because if it's cross map, it takes a while for roaches to make their way across the map. Overall, this is probably the wildest map in the current map pool. Like most of the time it's being vetoed in best of 3s, or definitely in best of 3s, most of the time in best of 5s as well. And in the best of 7 it's like, well, you know, we're gonna have to play it, so let's just see how it goes.
Yep, and of course we also have a bit of an audience here in the cinema, so welcome everybody once again. Of course, the game already about to start here, and our 4th map is Inferno Pools, as already mentioned. And to the bottom right of the map, we are having in red with a 2-1 lead in the best of 7 series. It is Solar. Solar looking good, and up to the top right, we're having now the Zerg player in blue, his opponent for Root Gaming. It is Hydra.
Blue like Chelsea, Kaldor. I've seen a lot of blue Chelsea fans today.
I've heard a lot of Chelsea fans today.
We want to hear you guys a little bit as well. Show those football fans that we too, as lovely SE nerds, can make some noise for these games. Every roach that dies, I want you guys to go crazy, okay?
That's going to be a bit difficult.
No, not at all. I've seen people do it, man. And now I hope for the audience it's going to be a Ling-on-Ling game, you know?
Yeah, but we had like a Chelsea game just next door today, and that was they were very vocal. I think they still are, because of a couple of bars right below us.
They're having a cheeky one right now.
Too. Well, for now in the game here, it's so far not really too much happening just yet. We have actually an Overlord scout on the side of Hydra going to the bottom right first, so he will be the one who finds out about the scouting about the position of his opponent a bit faster. Well, they know about the position once that the Overlords meet, but of course he gets the glimpse into the main base.
Yep, it's a mirror image once more. Both lasers going hatch first on the low ground. That is actually kind of risky, because on this map, look how far away that hatchery is away from like not only the natural ramp, but even the ramp to the main base. So it can be hard to defend against a lot of things. But right now, you know, neither of these two players seems to be too worried about it. They want to open up macro-oriented. But this is definitely like, from all the maps, and we see it pretty often in this EVZ series, where both players just make a big swell of links. Sometimes they do it in the low 20 drones, sometimes they do it in the low 30 drones. But like a big link play, it's been hard against like guys of this caliber, because their scouting is just so damn good. But if it's probably a good move on one map, it has to be on the Inferno Pools.
Yeah, and well, for now, as you see, we have also gases taken for the two of them. We could see an earlier aggression once more. The gas was a bit faster here for Hydra. Should not really come into play too much. He might get an earlier speed than his opponent, but it's only gonna be a tiny timing window, not something that you will be able to really exploit here. And at this point, of course, we could still see Solar trying to go for the cancel on the speed again and just move straight into the roaches. We're having Overlords just checking everything out, especially Hydra, of course, knows what's going on. That's the advantage that he gets by getting the better scout off here. Solar going to his opponent's base still has to account for that queen that is going to pop out any second.
I must say it would be very risky to cancel Zergling speed. What I kind of like for Solar is that excuse me, what I like for Hydra is that Solar took the top gas, so it's very easy for him to check over and over again how much gas has been mined, while Hydra took the top gas, so that makes it a little bit more difficult for Solar to figure out how much gas has been truly mined. It's a small thing, but I really like this for Hydra, and I think it was a little sloppy from Solar that he took the top gas. I think he should have always taken actually the other way around. No, wait, I'm so confused. Man, I'm hallucinating. I've seen too much CVZ, Kaldor. Help me out.
Well, he had an Overlord
Solid
in the base
play
at the bottom right.
All right,
so
both players did the right thing, actually. For some reason, I saw an extractor at a place where it wasn't.
Well, the the Observer saw the Extractor because he got the perfect scout off at the beginning, so we had an Overlord at the bottom. I think that's what confused it there for a second. So that situation definitely happened there. Yeah, the Ling actually confirming now that there is gas taken. I like that by Solar sacrificing 2 of the Zerglings, just saying like, okay, I didn't see anything because I scouted to the bottom left first, or tried to. So I needed to make sure to see what you have going on in your main base. Both of them going straight into speed, going straight into the Baneling nest. So we are going to see some Ling and Baneling aggression once again in this game. And especially Hydra is putting out the Ling count.
Yeah, he's making a lot of links. And I think if you do this, then you're going to have to do it right. You're going to have to properly commit to this and just don't stop. Do nothing but rally Zerglings across the map. Solar is doing the exact same thing though, but just of a few more drones. I feel this is the story of most of these games. A couple of Banelings being morphed in a very cheeky position as well. He might be able to wiggle those into the drone line. And if in such a low eco game as this, if 2 Banelings can connect with 6 or 7 drones, I feel that's almost game-ending damage. Because then it's not going from 50 drones to 43. No, it's going to go from 29 to low 20s. And that would be so massive.
Very well done here with the Lings rushing by those few Banelings. We have 2 moving in up at the top. He didn't really see them. One of them is already exploding. The second one shouldn't be able to do too much damage here either. And we are having down at the bottom right still the defense of Solar. So far, not too many losses for either one of these players.
Actually, very well done there by Hydra. Like, he bought a little bit of time for himself. These 2 drones were not, or excuse me, the 2 Banelings were not able to connect with the drones. Just one of them, and well, one is not enough to kill drones. Of course, he has to worry a tiny bit about all these Zerglings in the middle of the map, but I think Hydra is going to be more than fine and actually created a small economic advantage for himself. Solar, however, has the quicker attack. Layer going down, 2 more Extractors going down. Is this going to be some Muda play from Solar for the first time?
Well, we could even see that because that's a lot of gas that he has available to himself. And he even goes into a Spike Crawler, so he wants to play passive for now. The thing is that we have a Roach Warren already for Hydra, and if Hydra starts to commit, he should be able to break through this. I mean, at this point, we don't have upgrades yet for the player, so it's still going to be the 3 hits against the Zergling. But still, there's a lot of aggression that he's planning.
Yeah, and once again, this is a very wide ramp on Inferno Pool, so aggression is in general very strong. This is not the type of ramp where you have a Queen and you transfuse it a couple of times, or you have a Spine Crawler, small Sim City. Solo is going to try to buy as much time as possible with the Zerglings he has on the top side of the map. That's a good connection on one of his Banelings, but he spots these roaches right now, and I think the 1 Spine Crawler he had is not going to be enough. He throws down number 2, 3, 4, and 5 as well, but I feel that this is going to be a very, very strong timing for Hydra. The Spire is just now going down. He's actually morphing in the natural, which I think is extremely risky. You probably want to morph it into the main base, so it's a little bit safer. I mean, this is Spine Crawler madness, and Hydra is getting a few drones behind this, but still, that's so many roaches. That represents so much HP. 15 roaches against no Mutalisk just yet. I think this is very good for Hydra.
Yeah, Hydra is looking good here. And even though Solar started a lot of those Spine Crawlers even before he saw the roaches,
I really love the spread on the Spine Crawlers. That is actually very smart.
Yeah, he's spreading them extremely well. And he's focusing all of the Banelings out immediately. Very good connect with his own Banelings against the Roaches here. He might actually be able to hold this. There are Lings everywhere. If he targets well, he should be fine, I feel. He's still building a few more Zerglings, and that's going to help him a lot. The Spine Crawlers, most of them are still alive. 3 are going straight out. And Hydra needs to move back. His army supply advantage is gone. And all of a sudden, he's the one trying to transition out of this with the tech into Lair, which is, of course, incredibly late to what we are seeing from Solar.
Yep, he is 10 drones ahead. Of course, this wasn't cheap for Solar either. He morphed so many drones into Spine Crawlers and a couple of Banelings as well. But still, these Mutalisks are going to give him so much map control. And as the Observer is pointing out, there are quite a few free Overlords out on the map. Those are the donation Overlords. These Mutas are going to have a field day chasing them down. Hydra is going to try to take the gold over here. I don't think he's going to be able to keep that gold base alive.
Yeah.
How is he supposed to get anti-air over there, Kelder?
I don't know. That's a very, very ambitious gold base that he has there. Maybe he feels he has enough time because Solar is going to be occupied taking down those Overlords. There's 5 more Mutalisks being built now. The one thing, of course, that Solar could achieve was just get a ton of gas during all that time, since he had those earlier extractors too. So in army supply, still both of them on eye level. We have that additional few harvesters for Hydra. And there's the gold base also for Solar. I guess maybe just Hydra figured, hey, if he's going to take a gold base because he's going to have map control, I need to throw one down. As long as I keep him busy with my Lings and Roaches, he's not going to be able to scout that and take it on.
That is very smart. Like, if he keeps Solar, his forces on this side of the map, then he might be able to get a Spore Crawler or 2 up at the gold base, and that is probably all he needs. And so far, Hydra is doing just that. This is a very high level play, but the first Mutalisk scouts that base immediately, and Solar is like, ha, Those lings and roaches that you had, yeah, that's very cute and all, but I don't care about that, man. I just don't want you to go up to 3 bases.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to go up to 3 bases. I've got Mutalisk, you've got no mobile anti-air. You're not supposed to get that hatchery, and I'm not gonna give it to you.
He's looking at that and he's like, you serious, bro? So he's just moving in, takes down the queen, moves in first and takes on the banelings. That's of course gas invested again.
Careful.
Oh, but that is a mistake.
Okay, 2 Mutalisk. Well, it's painful, but at the end, Nidus. I was actually really wondering if we were going to see a Nidus network in this series, and this makes so much sense. Just put a bunch of queens in it, bunch of roaches and queens. That is probably Hydra's best shot, because he knows if he has to play out this game, it's going to be impossible for him to ever secure a third base, because right now he just does not have mobile anti-air, and you don't want to wait until you have a Hydra then and a bunch of Hydra lists. Like, that just takes forever. He knows he can't wait for that, because Solar's advantage will be way too big, so he's going to put all of his eggs in one basket, and it's going to be a Nidus play.
Yeah, the Nidus network down here with the queen support trying to snipe those Mutalisks.
Are they going to spot
And
it?
the Mutalisks are
They're
starting
close.
to move in. They're
No,
extremely
no.
close. He sees it and he takes it on. Oh
Transfuse,
my god.
transfuse, no.
It's too late. He doesn't have enough queens. The GG called as Solar shuts down the counterplay of Hydra, takes the 3-1 lead in the series. And wow, just calm and collected, still sitting in his chair here. Quick fist bump there at the end. A 3-1 for him right now. Very, very solid play by him again.
Yeah, he's playing so well. I really thought he was in a world of trouble when I saw all those roaches, a couple zerglings and banelings march across the map early on. Like I said, Inferno Pool, such a wide ramp in the natural. Normally an attack like that is very good. I love the way that he spread out the spine crawlers, which was quite a pretty big deal. Because sometimes it's really good to have your spines together, right? Because they have a lot of burst damage, they can really deal with those roaches. But then the banelings will also be able to deal splash damage to multiple spines at once. So he's like, that's not gonna happen to me. I'm gonna create a little bit of a maze of spine crawlers, and he was able to hang in there like a champ and put himself up 3-1. Right now Solar on 3 match points.
Yeah, and Coda is going to be the next map here. So Hydra needs to win 3 maps in a row now. It needs to start an incredible comeback here, and it has to start on Coda. This could be the last map of the day if Solar just continues this dominance in the ZVZ matchup.
Coda probably the most standard out of the next 3 maps as well. Iron Fortress is pretty wild because of the way the natural is designed. It's very wide open. There's a lot of distance to cover between the natural and the third base. So that base that map is like a little crazier than a map like Coda. And then of course, if it would go all the way to Game 7, we would end on Cactus Valley, which I don't think neither of these 2 players has a crazy amount of experience playing ZVZ on Cactus Valley. So that would get crazy. Coda is where the comeback is going to have to start for Hydra. It's the most common map. So, you know, if he has the skill, if he has what it takes to even things up, he's gonna have to do it on probably the most basic ZVZ map in the current map pool.
And Hydra doesn't really look too confident there on the screen. We've seen of course also like once again Solar just like sitting there, and he just looks like this innocent kid, you know, like it's
not
crazy.
innocent, man.
No,
I've seen what he does with
He's
roaches. He's the opposite of innocent.
Yeah, as a Protoss player you have to hate roaches, of course. Ever since the game got released, what was it back then? 1 supply?
Yeah.
the good old days. I miss that.
I think that's still good enough. As we see how many roaches have been produced in this tournament.
I don't think anybody kept count. Quite a few, I want to say. But yeah, we have Solar with the lead here, and Hydra, he needs to find some kind of answer. He has tried aggression. It worked for him on game number 2. On the 4th map, on the other hand, not really working out for him. The spine crawlers here just like too strong. A good defense, solid timing for him as well. All the spine crawlers were ready by the time that finally Hydra had his units cross map. So now we're going into Coda, and Hydra needs to find some kind of answer. If he wins the map here, then it's a 3-2, then he might be able to find the motivation to just come back into this. For him, it will of course be quite sad to be in the final here for the 2nd time at Gfinity and lose it again. But we are jumping into the game, ladies and gentlemen, and it is, as mentioned before, Coda, our 5th map actually, in the best of 7 series, and starting off to the top left with a 3-1 lead, it is Solar! And starting to the bottom right, the Root Gaming player. He won the 2nd map. He needs to win another one right now. It is for Root Gaming in blue, Hydra!
So far, Hydra has definitely been the more aggressive player in this series as well. And once again, this is like, I'm starting to sound like a broken record because I've mentioned this before over and over again. But in most of these series, the aggressive Zergs are just not able to get it done. Like players like Solar, they play at such an exceptionally high level. Their understanding of the game is so good. They will never like go too greedy. And even if they don't really know what's coming, there's not like, let's just morph like all of my larvae into drones. Like now, they'll get a couple drones, but they will always get some larvae saved up because, alright, I have the money to spend it. I just don't want to spend it right now because I don't know what's coming yet. And then most of the time when they do see suddenly Zerglings stream across the map, they've got that larva ready because they weren't starborn, they didn't overdrone. So Hydra is going to have to take a different approach this game, man, especially because Skoda is such a standard map where I feel being overly aggressive is probably not going to be in his favor. He's truly going to have to go for the long game, and he's going to have to play a long drawn-out ZVZ.
Yeah, as we already saw there on the screen, maximum security, that's what he needs to go for now. This is actually like, I mean, this is really important for him. Does he really have the balls to say, okay, I'm going to be aggressive again in the final map, that if I lose it here, then it's all over. I need a victory now. If he plays a safe and sound game against his opponent, he's going to have a decent chance here. But he has to face a Solar straight up.
Suddenly there's a smiley face over there. That's something that Metals mentioned earlier. That's very cute. All of these Starcraft maps, man, there are like a lot of very cool hidden things. Like sometimes you see a broken down Banshee, you know, lockdown airlock, why not? You know, it's just like a lot of random stuff on the map, which I think is quite cool.
Yeah, it's actually pretty nice. Like most of the map with a couple of Easter eggs and at times as well. I really like that. Blizzard is pretty good with like putting the details on the map.
Yeah,
like
there used to be a map with a Christmas tree, right, and a couple of presents around it.
Yeah,
it's a green map. I forgot which one it was. Maybe Whirlwind or something. Ah, Frost had Christmas trees. That's alright. They had lightning and stuff, decoration. Frost was beautiful. Thank you very much, Dedicated Observer. You've been doing a phenomenal job, by the way. Also, big shout out, of course, to all the guys behind the scenes over here, making Gfinity happen. Especially the video crew, like making video pieces, like giving us an insight.
Oh god, I love those.
Yeah, they're so well done, and it's really hard because these guys, you know, they show up. They're like, all right, we have like 20 minutes to shoot something. Then they have to cut it up, add subtitles as well. So that's something that really takes a lot of effort, but it makes the tournament so much more fun to watch. And even for us as well, you know, you just get to know these guys a lot better.
It was actually like really nice to see them talk about very serious topics, especially like a player like Hydra, for example, saying like, yeah, I see myself playing for another 3 years at least if I keep playing at the same level, if I don't lose my skill here. Jan talking about those things as well. So not just like your generic questions about who do you think are you going to be.
What do you think about CVZ on the Inferno boost? It's like, well,
who do you think you're going to face in the final? Yeah. Something like that. But like really in-depth question. I like that a lot. So yeah, you're completely right. Big shout out to the guys.
Yep. Alrighty, so far this is once again a mirror image, nothing too crazy. This time Solar is making a few links though, and I think he's going to make a few more behind this. So Solar is going to be the aggressor for the first time in this series. His speed is quite a bit quicker than the speed of Hydra as well. But Hydra has Overlords in pretty damn decent positions. This is also a map, once again, I don't think this is the best map out there to be very aggressive. So Hydra should be fine. In general, he does skip the Bailing Nest a little bit. Man, Solar is going to go... Solar's gonna go ham.
Yeah, and at the same time, we're seeing a Spine Crawler thrown down by his opponent. So Hydra already smelling something in the water.
Oh, yes, be careful with these queens.
Whoa, that's 20 additional links that he has there. Yeah, the queen, if
oh god,
they are not fast enough on the way back. Okay, they're already moving back. They saw the Zerglings moving out with an Overlord up here at the top, so the queens immediately get ordered back. And he's like, boys, come back here. This is not going to work out.
I'm not sure if this rep is going to be in time, though. These buildings, no, you need one more building. Hydra has to be real soon. All right, there we go. He does have a Spine Crawl, but that Spine Crawl is kind of far away. I'm not even sure if that's in range to shoot at the links that will be working on the queen. No, they are not. I kind of like this so far for Solar. He's been doing this a little bit quicker than most of these Zergling attacks have been arriving. How many units are on the way for Hydra?
Kev, he's going in for it. God. He's trying to take down the Spine Crawler. He's going for the queens. There are not a lot of units. The drones coming off the mineral line. That's never a good sign. He is 8 ahead right now. He can lose a few, but the Spine Crawler goes down. The queen is about to die as well, and all of those drones are still trying to defend somehow. The ramp is not completely secure. He's trying to block it. There are Zergling reinforcements streaming in for Hydra, but he lost a lot of harvesters already. He's down 12 now. It's 20 against 20 workers, but look at that Zergling train that's rushing in from Solar.
And from this point on, Solar is going to have more production because he picked off the queens of Hydra. The last remaining queen is still trying to hold down the ramp. So, you know, he can still pick off a couple of units, and he can just also stream Zerglings across the map. He should have more production. That queen is starting to run really low on HP. That's the last queen that Hydra had. Right now, there's no more queens. Solar can just outproduce Hydra.
Oh god, the army supply alone, 20 against 7. Lings rushing pushing cross map once more. There's nearly no mining down here at the natural. He's taking down the last drone as well. Harvester count still fairly similar, but the army, that's the big story here. Without the production, we have Solar just rushing in once again. He wants to take the final right now. He wants to win the 5th map and take him down at this point, and it looks extremely good for Solar.
That prediction of Benjamin the Muslim Baker, he called a 4-1 for Solar, and he is right as Solar closes it out on Coda.
Solar takes the game and wins the fight, wins the 5th map against his opponent. And ladies and gentlemen, your Gfinity Spring Masters champion is Solar!
Good.
One hand.
Right then, you can see there, Solar is the winner. I was hoping he was going to kiss the trophy, boys, but he didn't. We were trying to get him to kiss it.
Are you handing him the check?
So what do you guys make of that then? Your predictions come true.
Awesome. I mean, Solar played incredibly well. 4-1, and he played solid doing it. I mean, it looked, when it was 1-1, I thought it was going to be a lot closer, but stylistically, he played so good against Hydra. He knew that Hydra was going to attack him, and it seemingly, Hydra kept on attacking into him, and Solar, he was just very well prepared for Hydra to do that. So, yeah, awesome.
Massive disappointment, not just for me, because obviously Ben got his prediction right, but massive disappointment for you, the guy you championed all the way with another 2nd place.
Yeah, it's a bit sad really. 2nd time in Gfinity, 2nd place. But well, you can't win them all. Still, 2nd place is a great result for Hydra, but Solar just showing that he was the better player. He had Hydra's number in throughout the series, showing that he could play very well defensive, and in the end, finishing it off with a nice swell of links.
Yeah, well, what was the secret to his success over the course of the series? Because, you know, your prediction, it was a bold prediction, but it was as dominant as you thought it was going to be.
Honestly, when you have a history like that, where one player just beats another, despite them both being relatively similar in skill, that's a clash of styles. And it seemed that Solar really knows how Hydra plays, and so he seems so well equipped to deal with Hydra. And what you see Hydra do a lot in TVZ especially, like never mind ZVZ, he goes by the same pattern over and over. Once he gets 200 supply, no matter what he's fighting into, he's going to go for it regardless. And I feel that there are a few traits in his ZVZ that kept on happening, such as he kept attacking into Solar, and Solar was very well prepared for that. Like, he never panicked whatsoever, and led into a really solid victory.
Yeah, I think there was a big difference as well. If you look at the 2 semifinals in Jadong against Hydra, you saw both players almost constantly attacking into each other. On the other hand, Solar against True, you saw both players being very passive, and Solar just carried that over to the finals, was very passive, and Hydra kept on attacking into him, like Ben said, with maxed armies, and you just have a better concave, you have quicker reinforcements, and that's kind of what happened on the Echo game. It was kind of over. Let me take a look at my notes for a second on what other maps did happen.
Well, he's got notes.
Whip it out.
You should learn from this here, Ben.
I took notes.
Well, the other maps, it wasn't so much.
We've got the results on screen as well. You can see this is the full standings. We've got Solar at the top, obviously with $5,000 there, and we've got Hydra runners-up. But you can see a good finish as well for Jadong and True in 3rd and 4th place.
Honestly, the Jadong finishing top 4 of this event, this is one of his best finishes in a long time. So it's good to see that he's kind of back up and running.
Well, given that the field was so tough as well, I mean, this was, you know, there was lots of good players here, and Jadong to be up there is amazing story for him.
It definitely wasn't easy in this tournament. He beat Showtime and he beat True, the other semi-finalist there. And then, who did he play in the first quarter-final?
Patience.
Taking out Patience, who's on the up and up, and then only just losing out to Hydra 2-3. Solid. Right,
well, enough from us for the moment. We're going to go over to an interview with the winner, James. Let's finish strong. It's Banksy with Solar.
I am here with Solar, our winner. An absolutely fantastic display. 4-1, completely confidence win there. Absolutely amazing. First question I got to ask you. You made that look so easy. Was it hard at all for you?
It was really easy because I know what Hydra's doing and what he'll gonna do. So it was really easy series for me.
Now, how did you know this?
Hydra always plays same build with when he start. So I know what he do, and all of games I play counter of him.
Sure. Well, on the last map in particular, you just went all in with the Zerglings. You just seem to know, but was there any particular reason that you did that?
I saw Hydra versus Jadong on Koda, so he plays same build with that. So I know what he's gonna do. So it was really easy win.
So probably your advice for Hydra here would be to not keep doing the same builds and keep it a little bit different, I guess.
Yes.
Now, you've got the trophy, got $5,000 to your name. What are you going to do with this money?
Maybe party with my teammates first and go to club, maybe.
You're going to come to the club with us here? So we're going to go for drinks after this, I guess, yeah?
Yes, maybe.
Well, it was an absolutely fantastic display of skill from you, Solar. Anything you want to say out here to the fans? And I'm very happy you're giving us this English interview after the comment we had last time.
I was really bad in recently lizards like GSL, also in Pro League, but so my fans are really worried about my lizards. International fans and Korean fans really worried about me. I want to say sorry, very sorry to them, and I will change in Pro League Laundry and next GSL and Sport TV Star League.
Okay. Well, hopefully this is the start of things to come for a very bright future and a few more wins under your belt. We're going to head it back to Richard on the analyst desk right now to close up the show.
Oh, and he still didn't kiss the trophy, boys. There I was hoping.
I was hoping
we were going to get him a just, a beautiful shot of him kissing it, but it's not going to happen. I mean, great for him. He just keeps on winning these things. He's always up there. Some final thoughts about our champion?
No, well deserved. He never looked. I don't think he dropped a series in the whole tournament, and winning 4-1 against Hydra in the final. Absolutely great, and I think we have a new Kong of this generation with Hydra finishing second at everything.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, just amazing play by Suller overall, showing that he can do it definitely in CVZ, beating throughout, and yeah, congratulations to him.
Well, it's been a great tournament. It's been great to be in the room with the Banter squad. We've enjoyed it. We've had lots of fun in it. So thanks for your continued contributions. I'm sure we'll all be back again for another StarCraft event very soon. Maybe not you, but me and Kev will be all right. And talking about future events, we have got qualifiers that we need to mention. Obviously, we'll bring the details up on screen for you. You can see we've got an NA and Korean qualifier and 2 European qualifiers where 8 players will be able to qualify for our next event. The sign-ups are free. There's no fees involved. All you need is an account at gfinity.net, and that's it. And Gfinity will pay for everything.
Bargain.
It's a bargain, mate.
It's a bargain. They'll even pay for your food.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they even pay for your Nando's. All the cheeky ones you can eat. So now, in addition to Gfinity being awesome, Green Man Gaming are awesome as well. They've been running a competition over the course of this event. Dead simple. All you got to do is follow at Gfinity and at Green Man Gaming on Twitter. Tweet using the hashtag SCMasters, and you've got a chance to win 1 of 5 games. So thanks to them for our support. And you've got until 11:30 to enter, so it's not too late. You can stay up late tonight watching the VODs, and you can enter them. So that's it, guys. It's been a blast from here in London, England. We've got a worthy winner. It's a solar eclipse here. See you next time.